Praise be to God, there is no other God except God. Some haters from among the people who have not joined us yet claim that they do not believe in Alban's messengership because, according to them, Rashad had proof while Alban does not have proof, which is not true. Alban never said that he doesn't have proof. He said that he does not bring proof. And he doesn't bring proof because the proof about his messengership is already in the Quran. And the Quran has mathematical proof, logical proof, and empirical proof about Alban Fejza's messengership. But to save time here in this Friday sermon, I will only present the mathematical proof. And the other two proofs are in other videos. But first, let's clearly define what Rashad's proof of messengership was. What did Rashad Khalifa present as his proof of messengership? According to Rashad Khalifa himself, was the mathematical miracle of the Quran Rashad's proof of messengership? Let's see what he himself said when he was asked about it.
So why you claim you are a messenger of God? Because of this mathematical thoughts only?
No, because I am a messenger of God.
So according to Rashad Khalifa himself, he did not claim to be a messenger of God because he discovered the mathematical miracle of the Quran. So the question is, what did the mathematical miracle of the Quran prove then, if it did not prove his messengership? Well, according to Rashad himself, it proved the Quran itself. Here is what he said in the conclusion of the book, where he presented visually the mathematical miracle of the Quran. Conclusion. The physical evidence presented here proves 1. The divine source of the Quran, and 2. The perfect integrity and preservation of the Quran. So again, according to Rashad himself, the mathematical miracle of the Quran was mathematical proof about the Quran, not about Rashad's messengership. And he said this many times. Here, for example, he says, we are told in verse 31 that this secret code was placed in the Quran to perform 5 different functions. 1. To disturb the disbelievers. 2. To prove to the Christians and the Jews that the Quran is a divine scripture. 3. To augment the belief of the Muslims who already believe that the Quran is a divine scripture. 4. To remove all traces of doubt from the hearts of Jews, Christians, and Muslims regarding the divine source of Quran. And 5. To expose the hypocrites and disbelievers, for they will be indifferent or averse. So again here, Rashad presented from the Quran the 5 functions of the mathematical miracle of the Quran, and none of those functions was to prove Rashad's messengership. And Rashad said the same thing again in his Appendix 1, where he presented the mathematical miracle of the Quran. And nowhere there does he claim that Appendix 1 is proof of his messengership. Instead, he says here that Appendix 1 is proof of the divine authorship of the scripture. And he also says here in Appendix 2 that Appendix 1 is his duty as a messenger, but not his proof of messengership. Here. So then Appendix 1 was Rashad's main duty as a messenger to present to the world, but not his proof of messengership. So then if Appendix 1 was not Rashad's proof of messengership, what was his proof of messengership? It's Appendix 2. According to Rashad himself, Appendix 2 is where he presents the proof of his messengership. Here, in the beginning of the Appendix 2, Rashad says that this appendix, Appendix 2, presents physical, examinable, verifiable, and irrefutable evidence that Rashad Khalifa is God's messenger of the covenant. And then here further below, in Appendix 2, he presents the proof. So according to Rashad himself, here in Appendix 2, he is presenting the proof of his messengership. And what does the Appendix 2 contain? Appendix 2 contains 40 different cases of multiples of 19, which are connected with Rashad's name or the year of his discovery, and similar things, which show that there is a mathematical connection between Rashad and the predicted messenger of the covenant in the Quran. And in total, he presented 40 facts in this appendix, which together mathematically prove his messengership. Here you can see that the last fact is fact number 40. So the conclusion from what Rashad Khalifa said himself is that if you want mathematical proof about the Quran, it's in Appendix 1. And if you want mathematical proof about Rashad's messengership, then it's in Appendix 2. So Appendix 2 is Rashad's mathematical proof of messengership. And this appendix has 40 facts, or 40 cases with multiples of 19, which are connected to Rashad. So if Alban Fejza should present proof of his messengership, it should look like Appendix 2, not like Appendix 1. Because Appendix 1 proved the Quran, and the Quran is still proven. Alban's duty is not to prove the Quran again. That was Rashad's duty. Alban's duty is to explain it. The Quran is proven now through Appendix 1, but Appendix 2 presents proof of Rashad's messengership. So if Alban Fejza is to present proof of his messengership, it should match Appendix 2. And what I will present to you here is an equal proof to Appendix 2, that Alban is the clarifying messenger. No, wait, I will present to you double that. Double in the number of facts. Instead of 40, I will present to you 80 facts of multiples of 19, and they will also be much better in quality, meaning that the counts which I show in this video show more meaningful mathematical connections between Alban and his messengership compared to what Rashad presented about his messengership. So a proof which is better in quality and double in quantity. But before I start, let me remind you that the 80 facts will keep getting stronger and stronger as you go towards the end of the video. So please watch this video until the end. It's a life-changing proof. Let me present it. The name Alban is found in the Quran and it means the son or the daughter or the children. Its root word bani, what it means son, is found in the Arabic Quran 76 times, 19 times 4. Here for verification. But Bani is just how my family and relatives call me. My official full name is Alban Fejza, and that is the name which I will use in the calculations in this video. The name Alban in that specific form is found in the Quran 9 times, and the word Fejza, which means achiever, is found 29 times, and the total is 38, which is 19 times 2, here for verification. And here 19 times 2 symbolizes that Alban Fejza is messenger 2 after the discovery of the 19-based miracle. The geometrical value of Alban, as it is written in the Quran, is 83. And the geometrical value of the root word Fejza, as it is written in the Quran, is 88. So the total geometrical value of Alban Fejza is 171, which is 19 times 9, here for verification. From the first instance where the word Alban occurs in the Quran to the first instance where the word Fejza occurs in the Quran, which happens within the same surah, there are exactly 171 verses, which is exactly the geometrical value of Alban Fejza, 171, 19 times 9. From the last instance where the word Alban occurs to the last instance where the word Fejza occurs, there are 1,146 verses and 32 surahs. 1,146 plus 32 equals 1,178. 19 times 62. From the first instance where Alban occurs to the last instance where Alban occurs, there are 4,465 verses. 19 times 235. Alban plus all the surah numbers where the specific word Alban occurs gives us 209, 19 times 11. Alban Fejza became a submitter at the age of 19. That was Hijri year 1425, which is 19 times 75. Adding the geometrical value of Alban Fejza to the Hijri year 1425, we get 19 times 84, and 1984 is the year of birth of Alban Fejza. When fully grown, Alban Fejza became 190 centimeters tall, which is 19 times 10. Note, this is only relevant because Alban was born and chosen a messenger in the continent where the centimeters were invented. Other messengers don't have to be of equal height. Alban Fejza is predicted as the clarifying messenger in verse 44:13. Adding Alban Fejza to this surah and verse number gives us 228, which is 19 times 12. Notice that if you add Rashad Khalifa instead of Alban Fejza, you cannot get a multiple of 19. So the verse which mentions the clarifying messenger is talking about Alban Fejza and not Rashad Khalifa, because Rashad Khalifa was the messenger of the covenant, who is mentioned in verse 381. Alban Fejza plus the surah and verse numbers from the beginning of the Quran up to verse 44:13 where the clarifying messenger is predicted gives us 19 times 294. Again, this does not work with Rashad Khalifa or just Rashad because Alban Fejza is the clarifying messenger. The first name Alban is first mentioned in Surah 3, while the clarifying messenger is first mentioned in Surah 43. Adding all the surah numbers from Surah 3 to Surah 43 plus Alban gives us 1026, 19 times 54. In verse 75:19, God promised Muhammad that he through his angels and Alban Fejza will explain the Quran. This promise has now been fulfilled. This verse number 19 plus Alban Fejza gives us 190, 19 times 10. from the first verse where the clarifying messenger is mentioned until this verse, which predicts the explaining of the Quran, there are 1,387 verses. Plus Alban Fejza gives us 19 times 73. This connects the clarifying messenger with the fact that he will explain the Quran and with the fact that he is Alban Fejza. From the first verse where the clarifying messenger is mentioned until this verse, there are 1,418 verses and surahs. Plus Alban, we get 19 times 70. From the first instance where the first name Alban occurs in the Quran to this verse, there are 5,332 verses and surahs. Plus the first name Alban, we get 19 times 285. This confirms that the first name of the person through whom the prophecy in verse 75:19 is fulfilled is Alban. From the last instance where the last name Fejza occurs in the Quran until this verse, there are 349 verses in between. Plus the last name Fejza, we get 19 times 23. This confirms that the last name of the person through whom the prophecy of explaining the Quran is fulfilled is Fejza. In the main surah where the clarifying messenger is mentioned, in Surah 44, titled The Smoke, the surah informs us that the clarifying messenger warns his generation about the smoke. And Alban Fejza does that in the video titled The Smoke Prophecy. There, Alban Fejza unveiled that the smoke will happen in 2052. 2052 plus Alban Fejza is 19 times 117. The year 2052 corresponds to the Hijri year 1475. 1475 plus Alban is 19 times 82. Note, when we used the Gregorian year, we connected it with Alban Fejza, while when we used the Hijri year, we connected it with just Alban, without his last name. This is because Hijri years are the traditional Arab way of counting years, and in that tradition, last names do not exist. For example, Muhammad and the prophets before him did not have last names. The Quran mentions them only with the first name. When people in the ancient Arab culture, for example, wanted to differentiate Muhammad from another Muhammad, they would not use last names, but they would say Muhammad ibn Abdullah, which means Muhammad son of Abdullah. But when I use the Gregorian year in the calculation, that is the modern way of calculating years, and the modern way of names is by using both the first and last names. So we can use the Gregorian year of the smoke and Alban Fejza, or the Hijri year of the smoke and Alban only, and in both cases we get multiples of 19. How about that? Alban Fejza used the 7 HM initials to predict the clear smoke. Adding the total number of occurrences of the initials H and M in their surahs to Alban Fejza gives us 2,318, which is 19 times 122. Alban Fejza plus the geometrical value of the clear smoke, Biduhani Mubini, as it is mentioned in the Quran, plus Surah 44, where it is mentioned, plus the occurrence of HM initials in that surah gives us 1,140, which is 19 times 60. Surah 44 plus verse 10, where the clear smoke is predicted, plus the geometrical value of the verse, plus Alban gives us 2,679, which is 19 times 141. This confirms again that Alban was destined to predict the clear smoke. To discover the smoke, Alban also used the digits mentioned in connection with the 7 sleepers of the cave. Those digits are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which total to 44. Plus Surah 44, where the smoke is predicted, plus Alban, we get 171, which is 19 times 9. This confirms again that Alban was destined to unveil when the smoke will come. It is noteworthy that Alban unveiled the year of the smoke 44 years before it comes, and the surah titled The Smoke is Surah 44. O people of the scripture, our messenger has come to you to clarify things for you, after a fixed period, 19 Hijri years, without messengers. This verse mentions a fixed period of time between messengers, and the number of this verse is 19, which is exactly the number of Hijri years since the end of Rashad Khalifa's messengership in 1410 until the year when God chose Alban Fejza as the next messenger in 1429. Adding the verse number 19 to Alban Fejza 171 gives us 190, which is 19 times 2 times 5. So 19 years between two messengers prophesied in Surah 5, verse 19. Also, since this verse talks about the time between two messengers, Rashad Khalifa and Alban Fejza, let's add Rashad Khalifa and Alban Fejza to the surah and verse number, and we get 1425, which is 19 times 75. Also, since Rashad Khalifa was last messenger in 1990, and Alban Fejza first went public with his messengership in 2009, let's add those years to the last name, Khalifa, and the first name, Alban, and we get 19 times 253. From the last verse where Khalifa is mentioned as the messenger of the covenant to the last verse where Fejza is mentioned as the clarifying messenger, there are 4051 verses. Plus the last name Khalifa, plus the last name Fejza, we get 4864, which is 19 times 256. The verse mentions a messenger who clarifies. Adding the surah numbers and the number of verses from the beginning of the Quran to this verse, plus Alban Fejza, gives us 874, which is 19 times 46. This does not work if you use Rashad Khalifa's name only instead of Alban Fejza's name, because Alban Fejza is the messenger who clarifies. God is the only knower of the future, of course. But we learn from verse 72-27 that God reveals certain aspects of the future only to his chosen messengers. Through the previous chosen messengers, he unveiled only glimpses from the future. But the messenger whom God chose to unveil all the important global future events is the clarifying messenger, Alban Fejza. Here, the Quranic proofs about those future predictions are given in other videos, but here we are only focusing on how those proofs are mathematically connected with Alban Fejza to show that he is the clarifying messenger who was destined to unveil those future events. Verse 72-27 mentions the messenger who is given accurate future news. Adding the number of verses from the beginning of the Quran up to this verse, plus Alban Fejza gives us 5643, which is 19 times 297. After God mentions in verse 72-27 the messenger who is given future news, he immediately in the next verse mentions that he has counted the numbers of all things in order to prove that the messenger has delivered God's message. Adding all the different numbers mentioned in the Quran, plus Alban Fejza gives us 19 times 8543. Verse 72-27 begins with a statement only to a messenger that he chooses. Adding the geometrical value of this statement, plus Alban Fejza gives us 2090, which is 19 times 110. One of the main tools and milestones which the clarifying messenger Alban Fejza used to unveil the future events are the 7 pairs of Quranic initials. These 14 secret letters have 7 meanings. One of them, the mathematical significance, was discovered back in 1974, and now recently God unveiled through the clarifying messenger Alban Fejza all the other meanings, at the root of which is their linguistic meaning, what they really mean. The fact that the clarifying messenger was destined to unveil all the 7 meanings of the Quranic initials is predicted in Surah 15, verses 87 through 89, where God tells Alban Fejza, "We have given you the 7 pairs," and also orders him to say that he is the clarifying warner. A clarifying warner is simply a clarifying messenger when he speaks to disbelievers. And when he speaks to believers, he is a good news giver. This is the definition according to verse 1856. Now, here is the mathematical confirmation that Alban Fejza is the predicted clarifying warner who is blessed with unveiling the 7 meanings of the 14 Quranic initials. The geometrical value of the 7 pairs, as it is spelled in the Quran, and Alban Fejza, as it is spelled in the Quran, they total to 1026, which is 19 times 54. Adding the total geometrical values of the 14 Quranic initials to Alban Fejza and to the surah and verse numbers where the words Alban and Fejza are mentioned, we get 5567, which is 19 times 293. Adding the total geometrical values of the Quranic initials plus Alban Fejza plus all the surahs and verses which mention the phrase clarifying warner, we get 2983, which is 19 times 157. Adding the total geometrical values of the 14 Quranic initials, plus Alban, plus all surah and verse numbers where the clarifying messenger and warner is mentioned, we get 2622, which is 19 times 138. Adding the geometrical value of each of Quranic initials, plus the number of surahs where these initials are found, plus Alban Fejza, we get 893, which is 19 times 47. adding the number of occurrences of each of the 14 letters in the initials, plus the number of surahs where it occurs as an initial, plus Alban Fejza, we get 2,375, which is 19 times 125. The total of the 29 surahs where the Quranic initials occur, plus the total number of occurrences of Alban plus Fejza, plus the 14 sets of the initials equal 874, which is 19 times 46. The 14 different sets of Quranic initials, which are made of 14 different letters, are found in 29 surahs. If we add the number of times Alban and Fejza occur in the Quran to the 14 different sets of Quranic initials, to the 14 different letters which they are made of, and to the 29 surahs where they are found, we get 95, 19 times 5. Alban Fejza unveiled the linguistic meanings of all the Quranic initials by drawing back from what those letters meant during the times of the ancient clarifying messengers. The ancient clarifying messengers are Noah, Moses, Aaron, and Muhammad, which I explained in the following section. And the final clarifying messenger is Alban Fejza. By adding the geometrical values of all the clarifying messengers of all times, plus the geometrical values of the Quranic initials, we get 2,413, which is 19 times 127. The word mubin, clarifying, in that specific grammatical form, is found in the Quran 38 times, 19 times 2. Here are the verses of all those 38 cases. 5 times it refers to Noah as a clarifying warner. 7 times it refers to Moses as a clarifying authority. Twice it refers to Aaron as a clarifying authority. 7 times it orders Muhammad to deliver the message clearly. Once it refers to light, Nur, as simply a clarifier, which indirectly includes videos of Alban, which are made of light. 9 times it refers to the Quran as a clarifying scripture, and 9 times it refers to Alban Fejza as a clarifying messenger or clarifying warner. So these are all the clarifying authorities mentioned in the Quran, and here are their geometrical values. Adding together all their geometrical values gives us 1,311, which is 19 times 69. And from these 7 clarifying authorities, these 4 red ones are in the past now, and these 3 green ones are still active in our present. So the Quran, Alban Fejza, and light are still clarifying authorities in our present. This means that Alban Fejza is not a clarifying messenger independent from the Quran and light, which includes the clarifying videos. So Alban is a clarifying messenger only in combination with the Quran and the clarifying videos. Alban is never a messenger when he is not based on the Quran, and Alban is never a messenger when he is not in the clarifying videos, which ultimately will include only 100 of his published videos. The rest of his videos are just Friday sermons like this one. And you can tell the difference because Alban always starts his Friday sermons with the phrase, "Praise be to God," but not in his clarifying videos. But the clarifying videos always include subtitles with references from the Quran. Because Alban Fejza is the clarifying messenger only when his videos are fully subtitled with verse references from the Quran. So in the following section, I will use the geometrical values of the Quran and light to support mathematically Alban's clarifying authority. And this mathematically not only does it pinpoint who is the clarifying messenger, but also when that person exactly is a clarifying messenger. Only when Alban Fejza speaks in clarifying video format, light, in the videos where he puts subtitles with references from the Quran. God appointed Alban to be the clarifying messenger in 2008. Adding 2008 to the geometrical values of Alban, Quran, and light, we get 2,698, which is 19 times 142. Adding all the surah numbers and the verse numbers every time Alban and Fejza occur in the Quran, plus the geometrical values of Alban Fejza, Quran, and light, we get 4,465, which is 19 times 235. The phrase clarifying warner is mentioned 12 times in the Quran. If we add all the verses and surahs where the phrase clarifying warner occurs, plus the geometrical values of Alban Fejza, Quran, and light, which are the only clarifiers of our generation mentioned in the Quran, we get 1,881, which is 19 times 99. Adding the geometrical values of the 3 clarifiers of today, Alban Fejza, Quran, and light, and Surah 44, where the clear smoke is mentioned, and the occurrence of HM initials in that surah, which predicts the smoke, we get 988, which is 19 times 52. This confirms that we can know about the smoke before it happens by using Alban Fejza, the Quran, and the clarifying videos, light, as clarifiers. The word future does not directly exist in the Quran. The Quran has the concept of the hidden and time. Time has the hidden direction, which is the future, and the less hidden direction, which is the past. So the future is the hidden time. The geometrical value of the hidden plus the geometrical value of time plus the geometrical value of Alban Fejza, Quran, and light give us 1767, which is 19 times 93. This again confirms that God blessed Alban Fejza to unveil everything that the global community of believers need to know about the future, the hidden time, by using the Quran to find it and the clarifying videos which use light to publish it. There are only 2 verses in the Quran where God informs us that He tells specific news from the future only to a messenger that He chooses. Adding these surah and verse numbers to the geometrical values of these 2 verses, Alban, Quran, and light gives us 19 times 771. This confirms that Alban predicts the future reliably only when using the Quran and only when he publishes the clarifying videos which contain light. Verse 36:3 says, "Surely you are one of the messengers." This is directed towards each messenger when present since the revelation of the Quran. Those messengers are Gabriel, Muhammad, Rashad, Alban, Al-Haq, Ahmed, Quran, and Light, Nur, which include videos of messengers. Adding the geometrical values of all these messengers to the surah and verse number, which tells them that they are messengers, and the geometrical value of the verse, we get 2375, 19 times 125. Also, if we simply add the geometrical values of all human and non-human messengers of all the post-Quranic times to which this verse applies, we again get a multiple of 19. Here, Gabriel plus Muhammad plus Rashad plus Alban Fejza plus Al-Haq Fejza plus Ahmed plus Quran plus Light equal 1900. 19 times 100. Also, let's confirm that verse 36:3 especially talks to the clarifying messenger today. If we add the surah and verse number plus Alban Fejza, Quran, and light, we get 817. 19 times 43. The number of verses from the beginning of the Quran to verse 36:3 plus the geometrical value of Alban Fejza is 3876, which is 19 times 204. Rashad Khalifa is mentioned in verse 381, while Surah 36 is talking to Alban Fejza. Adding Rashad Khalifa on one side plus all the numbers of verses from 381 up to Surah 36, and then finally on the other side adding Alban Fejza, because Surah 36 talks to him, we get 1230 plus 3300 plus 171, which is 19 times 249. This confirms that the verse 381 refers to Rashad Khalifa, while Surah 36 is talking to Alban Fejza today. The sum of verse numbers of every surah from 1:1 to 36:3 is 257,925 plus Alban Fejza equals 258,096, which is 19 times 13,584. If we try the same thing with Rashad Khalifa's name, we will not get a multiple of 19. This confirms that verse 36:3 today only talks to Alban Fejza, and it says, "Surely you are one of the messengers." Surah 36 is the 19th initial surah, plus Alban Fejza equals 190, which is 19 times 10. This confirms that today the whole surah also specifically talks to Alban Fejza. In the clarifying video titled 3 Messengers, 1 Mahdi, here, Alban identifies, proves, and predicts the fates of all the 4 human messengers of the modern world to come after Prophet Muhammad. These messengers are Rashad, Alban, Al-Haq, and Ahmed, root word Hamd. All these 4 messengers are proven conclusively through a logical way in that video, but here let me present the mathematical confirmation about them. The names of these 4 messengers are mentioned in the Quran a specific number of times. Rashad 19 times, Alban 9 times, Al-Haq 114 times, and Ahmed 48 times. The total is 190, which is 19 times 10. The geometrical values of their names are Rashad 505, Alban 83, Al-Haq 139, Ahmed 53. Adding their geometrical values to the geometrical values of Quran 351 and Light 256, we get 1387, which is 19 times 73. This confirms that they are messengers only when with the Quran and Light. These four modern messengers have their main verses where they are mentioned in the Quran. Here are those main verses. And here are the geometrical values of each of their names. So to confirm mathematically that those verses talk about those names, we add the geometrical values of those names to those surah and verse numbers. And here are the totals for each messenger. And each of those four cases are multiples of 19. Here, 19 times 31, 19 times 12, 19 times 23, and 19 times 9. This cannot be a coincidence anymore, especially in light of all the previous multiples of 19 which I presented earlier. And actually there's more. Each of these messengers is meant to lead the believers of the modern world with an example how to correctly observe one of the four religious rituals. The four religious rituals are the contact prayer, al-salat, the obligatory charity, al-zakat, the fasting, al-siyam, and the pilgrimage, al-hajj. And here are their geometrical values. Now, since the discovery of the 19-based mathematical proof until the end of the world, the best example of how to observe the al-salat is Rashad Khalifa. This is his video on that. The best example on how to observe al-zakat is Alban. This is his video on that. The best example on how to observe al-siyam, fasting, is Al-Haq Fejza. You will see his video in the future. And the best example on how to observe al-hajj is Ahmed. And you will see his video in the future. Now here are the geometrical values of these best examples. Adding each of their geometrical values to the geometrical values of each of their corresponding religious ritual give us these totals. And they are all multiples of 19. 19 times 73, 19 times 8, 19 times 21, and 19 times 5. And you know what? These four people are chosen messengers for our modern generation because they are the best of modern humans at the al-shahada, bearing witness. We are the best example for our generation on how to bear witness that there is no other God except God. Now, the geometrical value of al-shahada is 345. Plus the geometrical values of all these four messengers together gives us 19 times 102. And the total of all the 5 pillars of Islam, when added to the geometrical values of all the 4 modern messengers, gives us 3971, which is 19 times 19 times 11. The Quran specifies 3 messengers of submission, Islam. 1. Abraham, whose duty was to deliver the practices of Islam. 2. Muhammad, whose duty was to deliver the Quran. And 3. Rashad, whose duty was to deliver Islam's proof of authenticity. The total geometrical value of their 3 names is 855, which is 19 times 45. Adding Alban Fejza's name to this list, which has a geometrical value of 171, brings the total to 1026, which is again a multiple of 19, 19 times 54. This shows that Alban Fejza's preaching does not remove or add anything to the religion of submission, Islam, as preached by Abraham, Muhammad, and Rashad. Alban Fejza's mission is only to explain it and clarify the issues which feel difficult to understand. After centuries of debates and confusions about the decreed times of prayer, Alban, as the clarifying messenger, finally clarifies this issue. Here, the only verse in the Quran where the phrase decreed times of prayer is mentioned is verse 103 in Surah 4. Adding the surah and verse number to Alban, we get 190, which is 19 times 10. The phrase decreed times has a geometrical value of 976. Plus the surah and verse number where it is mentioned, plus Alban Fejza, we get 19 times 66. After centuries of debates and confusions about the exact timing of the beginning and end of Ramadan, Alban, as the clarifying messenger, finally clarifies this issue. Here, the only verse which mentions Ramadan in the Quran is verse 185. Adding the surah and verse number to the geometrical values of the verse and Alban, we get 19 times 671. Also, the expression the month of Ramadan, as mentioned in the Quran, has the geometrical value of 1596. Adding this geometrical value to Alban Fejza, we get 1767, which is 19 times 93. After centuries of debates and confusions about how to fast in the extreme northern and southern regions of the earth, in certain times of the year, when it is impossible to fast due to permanent night or day or twilight, Alban Fejza, as the clarifying messenger, finally clarifies this issue. This situation of permanent twilight is mentioned in the Quran with the word as-safar, brightness, which is the same root word also used in the verse of fasting, al-sayam. Adding the geometrical values of al-safar and brightness and al-sayam, the fasting, and Alban Fejza gives us 684, which is 19 times 36. After centuries of attempts to prove the amount of zakat, the process, and everything else about zakat, obligatory charity, from the Quran, Alban, as the clarifying messenger, finally proves this issue from the Quran. Here, adding the geometrical values of the word zakat and Alban, we get 152, which is 19 times 8. To help correct the organizational chaos and waste of energy which is caused by disoriented opportunists among half-submitters, where they have turned Rashad's practical preaching methods as a non-messenger, like Quranic studies and annual conferences, into religious rituals, Alban Fejza, as the clarifying messenger, clarifies from the Quran that the only two official religious meetings in submission are the day of Jummah, Friday, and Hajj, here. Adding the geometrical values of the day of Jummah, Yawm al-Jummah, and Hajj, al-Hajj, and Alban Fejza, we get 19 times 22. After centuries of prohibitions of allowed masjids, or allowances of prohibited masjids, and arbitrary financing of masjids through non-Quranic methods, which lead to disputes between believers, finally Alban, as the clarifying messenger, clarifies everything about masjids from the Quran. Here, adding the geometrical value of the word masjid, and Alban gives us 190, which is 19 times 10. After many confusions and disputes about the Qibla direction from America, due to the spherical shape of the earth, Alban, as the clarifying messenger, finally clarifies this issue from the Quran. Here, adding all the surah numbers and verse numbers where Qibla is mentioned, plus the geometrical value of the word Qibla, and Alban, we get 893, which is 19 times 47. Alban clarifies from the Quran what is the only permissible way to engage in jihad in our modern democratic circumstances. Here, adding the geometrical value of jihad, and Alban gives us 95, 19 times 5. The Quran informs us that those who go to hell are the majority, while those who go to heaven are the minority. But people never knew exactly what the percentage is. In the clarifying video, Demographics of Heaven and Hell, Alban Fejza unveiled from the Quran exactly what percentage is the majority who will go to hell and what percentage is the minority who will go to heaven. Adding the geometrical value of the minority, and Alban Fejza gives us 342, which is 19 times 18. But if we add the geometrical value of the majority to Alban Fejza, we do not get a multiple of 19. This puts Alban Fejza with the group of the minority who will go to heaven. Alban Fejza unveils all you need to know about prayer, dua, from the Quran. Here, adding the geometrical value of prayer, dua, to Alban Fejza gives us 247, which is 19 times 13. Note that dua means prayer, while al-dua means the prayer. This second form with the definite article has the geometrical value of 107. Adding that to Alban again gives us a multiple of 19. 190 equals 19 times 10. Since Alban is the Arabic tradition of naming, while Alban Fejza is often the tradition of other nations, and both versions give us a multiple of 19, this confirms that prayer, dua, is acceptable in any language. Alban explains everything the people need to know about proofs, ayat. What types of proofs are there? At what time during their messengership messengers are supported with them? For what reason? When should they bring new proofs? And what counts as proofs? Here, the Arabic word for proofs is ayat. Adding the geometrical value of proofs, ayat, and Alban gives us 494, 19 times 26. So all the clarifying videos which Alban Fejza published so far with different topics, the geometrical values of those topics mentioned in the Quran all lead to multiples of 19 when added to the geometrical values of Alban Fejza. This confirms mathematically that Alban Fejza was destined to clarify those issues. Alban Fejza discovered the mathematical proof of his messengership 19 years after he became a submitter. At the age of 38, 19 times 2. Verse 38 of Surah 13 in Arabic says that it is not for a messenger to come with proof except when God wills it. For everything a time, which is predetermined. The phrase for everything a time has the geometrical value of 114. Plus Alban Fejza, we get 19 times 15. And the 15 here is not a coincidence. God supported Alban Fejza with the mathematical proof of his messengership 15 years after he chose him a messenger. Which is why verse 10:20 says that the disbeliever said, "How come no proof came down to him from his Lord?" Say, the future belongs to God. So wait, and I am waiting along with you. And this is exactly what happened. Alban Fejza was challenged to bring proof, which they presupposed that it should be mathematical, and Alban told them that in the future is his proof. And now in the Hijri year 1444, God supported Alban with the mathematical proof of his messengership. So the discovery of Alban Fejza's mathematical proof of messengership happened during this year, Hijri year 1444, which is 19 times 19 times 2 times 2, which symbolizes double mathematical proof about the second modern messenger, Alban Fejza. 1444 is also 19 times 76, and 76 is the number of times the word son, the root word of Alban, is mentioned in the Quran. 1444 is also 38 times 38, and 38 is the number of occurrences of Alban plus Fejza in the whole Quran. So 38 times 38 symbolizes double proof about Alban Fejza. So I presented to you twice as much mathematical proof about Alban Fejza's messengership as Rashad presented about his own messengership. So anyone who accepts Rashad as a messenger has twice as much reason to accept Alban as a messenger. And it doesn't stop there. I present even more. I also present logical proof, which is enough proof on its own. And you can see it in another Friday sermon titled Logical Proof about Alban Fejza's messengership. And that proof is just as strong as this double mathematical proof. And it doesn't stop there. I present even more. I also present empirical proof through future predictions. The future predictions with which God blessed me will be witnessed by people before the end of the world, which is proof on its own, because it's observable proof, and 3 times as much proof as Rashad's proof of messengership. So twice as much proof mathematically, twice as much proof logically, and 3 times as much proof when the future predictions come true. And in total, that is 7 times more proof. So God has supported Alban with 7 times more proof about his messengership than he supported Rashad about his messengership. God is the ultimate supporter, and in accordance with his plan for our modern world, he distributes his support however he wishes. He knows what he's doing. God be glorified.